Bienvenidos al nuevo capítulo del podcast de Simplex. Hoy día estamos felices de anunciar que tenemos a invitados súper especiales. Nos vienen a visitar directamente desde Londres. Vamos a hablar de AI generativa, la capa más de educación. Así que vamos a presentar a nuestros invitados. Aditya and Pauldy Otermans, co-founders the Otermans Institute. Thank you guys for being here today. It's a really pleasure to have you over here. So please introduce yourself to our audience and talk about each one, please.
Shall I start? All right. Hi everyone. So I'm Dr. Pauldy Otermans, and thank you so much for having us today. So my background is actually in biophysics. A while ago now, I studied that, and then I really was passionate about neuroscience and the brain and understanding people's behavior and why they do things the way they do, and also how they learn, how they get motivated to learn, what drives people really. So I continued my journey and I did my PhD in cognitive neuroscience, working already a lot on memory because that's important in learning too. And then Dave and I met at university, and we were working together on a few projects. And then our passion for, AI and teaching and learning actually started growing together. And now in Otermans Institute, I very much focus on research, pedagogy, and I'm sure in a bit we'll tell you more about what we actually do, and then probably my role becomes more clear. But I think that's sort of me in a nutshell. Dave?
Hi everybody, very good to see you. I'm Dave Aditya. I am the AI lead at Otermans Institute. So I look at all our AI products from an architecture standpoint, to build products, to look at it from a human-centered approach, what really works, what doesn't, and essentially drive the entire AI innovation side with our machine learning lead. I also look at the business side of the venture, and I'm sure we might have the opportunity to speak about that today as well.
So great, guys. We have prepared some questions for you. And the first one, how was your approach to the world of AI from both? Tell us.
Well, that's a story. I think we should start with the story of Otermans Institute for this one. So Pauldy, why don't you start, and then I'll just pick that up.
Lovely. Yes, you're definitely right. That's where we should begin this to start answering your question. So it will be quite a story. So we, as I mentioned, we met at university. I was the president, Dave was the vice president of the student body in the UK, in London. And we worked on several projects. And then, as you do, after graduating, we traveled to Asia to teach underserved and unserved students or learners about, initially we wanted to teach them STEM subjects, particularly for female learners, but we quickly found out that actually a lot of the learners there, they may have had a degree, but a lot of them found it very difficult to get a job. And unemployment was very high. So that, something is off here. Like, why are these people not getting a job? And by interacting with them, also with the teachers and people involved in education in those countries, we actually found out that there was and still is actually a big gap in terms of transferable skills development. So yes, they had maybe a degree in chemistry or physics or biology, but they were not able to sell themselves. So we started to teach that. We developed our own curriculum about transferable skills, soft skills, employability skills, and using that, we started to teach them. At the moment we started teaching, we got a contract from one of the state governments in India, Uttarakhand in the north. COVID-19 started, unfortunately. Well, in the end, it's probably fortunately from the way our business grew, but of course it was a very sad time. And you might want to add something there, Dave, because you got stuck in India for a while. But we had to quickly turn everything into digital, right? Because we couldn't go to the schools or the institutions because everything was closed, everybody was at home. So we turned everything digitally in, like this, basically. We use Zoom, and we continued our lessons weekly over Zoom with the learners. And what happened rapidly, we expanded to 11 countries in the scope of a few months.
Okay.
And we had to get more teachers, and there was or trainers, and this proven to be very difficult. Not just to hire the trainers, but train them the way we deliver our pedagogy. It's very interactive in nature, not a monologue from someone. the amount of time I've not tried to give you this answer is the most a teacher would speak in one of our lessons because they would ask you and you would ask me and we have a conversation. That's how we teach. But we also have a lack of quality control almost at some point, right? Because there are so many teachers and no teacher or trainer trains in the same way. So monitoring that was also very difficult. So we did a lot of research on our program, and what we found out was that all the students, they said that the trainer made a difference. Yes, the content was good and they liked it and they had fun and they learned a lot of things. But they said the trainer, I really liked the lesson because of the trainer. We said, okay, so we need to skill the trainer. How? And that's where we started to think about AI. And I think, Dave, this is probably the best time for you to join our story because you are our AI lead.
Yeah, so as Pauldy said, the biggest piece that we had to scale and scale really fast was the piece of the teacher. And we looked everywhere. And that's one piece in EdTech, in education in general, that's not been really scaled using technology. We've scaled content. Content's abundant now. We've scaled, accessibility. The Coursera's of the world, the Udemy's of the world, etc. But be it one-to-one teaching like Tutorful, or be it a video that you're recording, or creating a content, it's all human-led. And to be honest, it was a very big sort of risk we took at that time. And we just thought, see, teacher equals intelligence. We know AI is not intelligent, right? It's a system, but that's the closest we could go. Let's see what happens. So we registered ourselves in the February of 2020. We started experimenting with AI in November of 2020. In January of 2021, we had our first POC. This was a supervised model. This is pre-generative AI, but that supervised model was an avatar digital human teacher, our first one, that went on to teach actual refugee learners in northern Iraq. Now, once we were there, we found a lot of things, including the people actually finding our avatar human-like. Some of these things Pauldy may touch upon later, but they found her to be warm, they found her to be trustworthy. And we were like, we are onto something. So that was the beginning of our journey. And from then, we continued on this space, worked extensively into AI, obviously touched on generative AI. And today we have our own small fine-tuned model of about 5 billion parameters. We work everything in the middle, which is why would somebody learn from our AI, the pedagogy piece, etc., right to the end. So we build our own synthetic avatars, we build our own 3D characters which teach.
It sounds great. It's a great opportunity for you by changing the way, like everyone's it's learning. And we have some questions about that, the avatars and the capabilities. But right now, if you can tell me about how is AI being used in the education right now, to having an approach to everyone?
See, AI is not that new. We all know that. AI in education is also not that new. So anything where you have, recommendation engines recommending you what to learn, which course to learn next, that's all AI, right? But I think what's really exciting today is that AI, in its own right, has finally cracked language. And because of that, it can have a far deeper impact on education. So we were actually speaking this morning at University Autónoma de Chile, and we were talking about this. So for the first time, you can have conversational one-to-one, as we are speaking right now, learning 24/7. It's conversational learning on steroids, because this AI can speak back to you. We've never had that. I think that's a very exciting piece. Another very exciting piece is previously you wrote a content, I wrote a content, Pauldy wrote a content, right? So we wrote pieces of content and the AI would perhaps recommend you what to learn. Today, if you want to learn something and you can't find that content, you can just tell AI, create me content on this. I want to learn about X. The AI can create content on it. Okay, sometimes it hallucinates, we get it. We're at the beginning of this curve. But it's really exciting because it can give you a lot of content. So that's another very interesting space. There's a lot more I can speak about, but I think 2 more things that we touch on is, obviously, we created the first digital human teachers that's actually teaching out there. So you can humanize this. ChatGPT at the end of the day is not that human-like because it's chat and you're just asking questions, but you can humanize it. Some of the things you can do is you can give it a face. like a human being. You can use a synthetic avatar, the type of voice, etc. We can touch on that. And the other aspect is you can really specialize the language model, because the way you speak to somebody, the way somebody speaks to you, really helps create a connection, and that connection is make or break to really drive this education into the next level.
And if just one thing to add to that from more of a pedagogical side is feedback.
Yeah.
AI can really help you with feedback. So today, let's say tonight, you're going home and you want to learn something, but your teachers, I didn't think so, they're available to you at night, right? You can't call them. You have no way to get in touch with them. But you really want to practice for that exam that's coming up in a few days. Yeah, I can help you. You can ask them a question.
Right.
They can obviously give you an answer, but they can also ask you, and you may give an answer, and then the AI might be like, you could improve on that. If you would add, A, B, or C to this, it will become a better answer. So you can implement that. And then you can ask feedback again and again. So you can go endlessly until you, I guess, have perfected your answer. But also in that way, you continue to improve your own learning experience. So I think that's another area within the learning and the teaching journey where AI can be really powerful for everyone. And you can do this at your own pace as well, which is quite important.
Yeah, it really makes sense, because when you are learning something, maybe in Google, I don't know, you can do some tests, for example, but the really teaching, it's about two directions. The teachers told me something that can help me pass the trouble, for example. But it really makes sense. It's not just an avatar. It's about communication. So guys, you talk about your own LLM models or language models. Why you still use your own language model if right now it's something like OpenAI or the other models? Talk about these topics, please.
So yours? Want us to start?
Thanks a lot. So, interesting question, and I'll tie it back with actually the point you made right now about teaching is two-way conversational, right? ChatGPT is not conversational. I think we can all agree on that. It's just a corpus of knowledge. Perhaps one of the biggest corpuses of knowledge on earth. To really be able to teach, you need to understand how human beings talk and communicate with each other and ask questions. So that's what you can use AI for. And that's why actually we still work with our own fine-tuned language models. So we are not teaching our language models English or basic maths, for instance. You can get that off Llama or whatever else. But what we are really focused on is creating a language model that is really perfect in understanding what a student needs, and being able to really communicate across different pockets and different parts of society in the right way, so that this communication piece between the student and the AI becomes solid. And if I really take a slightly wider view on this, general models have their space, and it's a huge and humongous market, like the AWS of the world, right? But then the future of language models is also very niche. The finance world will have one or two language models specific for that. Education, nobody's doing it yet. That's why we want to be pioneers in this space. Marketing probably will have one. It's going to go there. Not fighting with the ChatGPTs of the world. They have their own space. But just think about it. You have AWS, but you also have a Kong, right? Because they have enterprise level, whatever. So I think the education space is going to need their own language model. We want to be pioneers there. We want to do over the next year and a half, 79 million hours of just that content to build a model. So that's going to be very exciting. And the two most important aspects, I think, of education are content. Content's abundant now, and AI can create on whim. And the other part is the teacher, right? And if you take these two things, they are there in almost everything in education. And if I look at education as a whole piece, it's $4.3 trillion with a T a year. So that's a humongous market to have a niche in. You want to add anything?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great concept to know about the deep tech that needs to use to bring this model to something with value. It's not about it's not about asking something. It's about maybe feel some personalized roadmap for you and this context. It's really important to reveal the way that I am giving you the knowledge or the next steps.
Yeah, if I can say one thing here. Yeah, I think for the first time, right, not two human teachers teach in the same way, right?
Exactly.
You might have your favorite teacher, your brother might have their favorite teacher, Pauldy might have a favorite teacher, right? So, and some are capable, some are not. For the first time in history, I think we can give everybody, in terms of the quality, the same teacher. You get the same teacher, I get the same teacher. But as you learn with them, the quality is the same, but your teacher understands you more than anybody else. My teacher understands me more than anybody else. So they become my favorite teacher. So that's the power we can have. The quality control is there. On top of it, hyper personalization through conversation, not through clicks, not through doom scrolling, right? It's through conversation. So that could be powerful.
Yeah, it makes really sense.
I was just going to almost add the same thing, that the personalized learning is really important, because apart from having a potential favorite teacher, we also all learn in a different way. You can have very broad categories, but I may be a very visual learner. So I would like the teacher to show me also images when they explain something. But you may like to see a short video demonstrating something. And you may not want any of that. And you might want a piece of text to accompany the learning journey with. So again, the AI can further really personalize this and also test you in a different way. You may like open-ended questions. You may like a debate and actually debate the particular topic, showcasing your knowledge. And I might just say, I just want the problem and I'll solve it in my own time and I'll get back to you. In all these cases, we're all being tested, but in a different way. And we all show that we learned the same content. So the teacher can do so many things.
That's really important, because the way that you can learn, it's infinite. I don't know. And the way that your teacher are teaching to you, it's infinite too. So you need to find a way to find your best way to understand something and try it. So in the same way, the next question is about the teacher's job. And maybe we can cross with another question that we have over here about the capabilities of these avatars and your technology, because you told about that. Because the teachers have limits. When you are looking for giving education, like on a good way, you have some restrictions. So what is it about the capabilities of the avatars and the effect on the educations and the current work of the teachers? Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should start with some of our most well-known tech part of it. So I'll start with content. You might go on to teach me, and then I'll go on to the avatar. So this really needs to set some context here, and then we'll go into the sector-wide. So first of all, again, one of my favorite pieces is, because I have been frustrated a lot of times in life with regards to this, which is sometimes I want to really learn something, and it's not like deep learn, like I just want to figure out something. YouTube's made life better, right? But there is so many times you don't get the right content, or at least in the right scope. So today you can ask AI, I can ask my own model as well. I want to learn this, give me a content. It will start from a topic list to each topic or chapter. If I wanted to, it would even give me MCQ questions and questions to test myself on. So that's what it can do. So that's just one level. So that really powers the avatars, because you have to look at it. There's a lot of layers of deep tech going into it, right? So that's one aspect. Now, let's say you already had something to learn, but you can't figure it out. I'm going to give Pauldy this, because this is one of her babies. Yeah.
Thank you. One of my babies. So let's say, I know you're a student or you're a researcher, particularly for research, and you have an article that you need to read. And that article may be 8-9 pages long, and there's quite a lot of difficult concepts in that article, but it's really important for you to get to grasp with that concept because of your own project. So you start to read the paper and you just get stuck because it's so complicated, and you need to go to Google and search, what does this mean? And again, and going back, and you do this a few times, but it becomes very annoying. And believe me, I've done it many of times during my PhD, and I got very frustrated. I wish AI was there when I was doing my PhD. Unfortunately, it wasn't there yet, or not in this way at least. And what you can do now is you could, especially even with our own model, we can upload a PDF. The AI will digest it, dissect it back to us and teach it us. So it will go over, okay, the paper is about, I don't know, ABC. Okay, let's go. We'll first start with the basic concepts. These are the following. And it will explain what the main concepts are, in definition style, but for you to understand, may even quiz you slightly. Okay, we got the basics, great. Now let's move on to, the more complicated stuff of the paper. And in a way, it will teach me this paper in a more, simpler language, but it also breaks everything down step by step almost, and it really dissects it. And at the end, of course, it will test me, do I now understand that paper fully? Most likely my answer will be yes, and I can now use it into my own, project, whatever I needed it for. And that's, I think, is so powerful because we get stuck a lot of the times and we start to try and find the information elsewhere about that particular book or article or piece of text that we're reading, but we get even more stuck. And in the end, often people give up because, let's face it, it's very difficult to find the right information when you need it.
And maybe with your background, because you know a lot of psychologist process or neural process, there are some effects to having I don't know, maybe a familiar face teaching to you. There are some effects in the human.
Yes, no, I think that's definitely a valid point. And that's one of the things when we ran, what Dave mentioned before, when we had our first POC ready and we tested it with refugee learners in northern Iraq. And they knew us as we had taught them before with our order system. And then they were starting to interact with the AI. And we let them be. It was over Zoom, of course. We didn't go there. And they interacted. And we let them be for about 10 minutes. And we kept the chat open. We said, if you want to say something, feel free. If you want to type it, we'll just be here in the background, but you just interact. And they're like, okay. And suddenly one of the girls, and this will stay with me probably forever. She said, oh, wow, it speaks to me. And this was for us such an interesting moment to hear that from her. And she was so enthusiastic, and I think she just continued interacting for a while without coming back to us then. But on a serious note, we used a lot of scales from psychology and human-centered design research literature that we have used to test our product on aspects like trustworthiness, competence, warmth. Are they socially present? And when we use those particular skills, they're validated and tested by lots of other people in the field. We found that the learners that we tested it with, they found our own digital human teacher, Beatrice. They found her warm. They found her human-like. They found her trustworthy. So all these, we hope that they found her trustworthy. That's what we expected. But they said themselves, she's like a human. And
exactly,
that was really, impressive to hear.
And maybe something to Dev. It's like an idea, but maybe with your technology, you can clone something that it's really important to you. Maybe your favorite teacher, maybe, I don't know, your dad, I don't know, maybe something with human effects. You can do that with your technology?
We can do that. Why I'm smiling is because we can do that. Perhaps a few people can do that now, because I'll give this show a lot of AI enthusiasts listen to. So I'll just give an example. If you had a paid version of just GPT, GPT 4.5, you could tell GPT 4.5 to answer every question asked to it as as a famous historic character, let's say Jesus Christ, right? You could ask it to reply everything as Jesus Christ, and you could have an avatar of Jesus Christ stuck to it. So that's exciting. Obviously, we can do that. I would never say no to that, but it can be done now. I think we are in the frontier spaces way ahead of that at the moment, and I'm happy to talk, and I'm sure that might come up in the following questions.
No, it's great. It's a great capability. Maybe it's the change game, or I don't know, or it's something important because you need to feel comfort with your digital teacher in this case.
And it's just great. To add to that, when you're learning, if there is someone there who you can trust, as you said, comfortable, you are more motivated to continue to learn as well. And one of the things that we found, it's more anecdotal evidence, but it's evidence nonetheless, is that some of the learners, initially, they didn't say anything. They didn't even raise their hand to ask a question. But when they are interacting with the AI, they suddenly start asking questions, which is great, of course, right? Don't get me wrong. It's lovely to see. But that was maybe one of the most surprising things at least in my case, we found is that during the lessons that they initially had with, just our human teachers on Zoom every week, they were very quiet. And then they interacted with AI and they suddenly started talking and asking questions, and they felt confident because they were not being judged by anybody, I guess. I don't know, Dave, you did
No, you just brought up a very interesting point. Sorry, that's why I was, just getting in here, because again, it's anecdotal, right? So she's seen it from a very different angle. I've seen it from a different angle. So the angle I have seen it from is, even before releasing some of our earlier chatbots, sometimes even text when we were trying, we did, human level, user level studies, right? And I still remember in India, in the state of Bihar, some students told me this. So one of the students, quote unquote, in their language, they said it. So if I'm just quoting and translating, she was like, I don't really ask questions in my coaching center. I was like, why? And she was a bit shy as well. And then what we figured out, and actually in the end, she said this in this language that, sir, do you like it when other people look at you with judgmental eyes? So if I connect that to what she just said, with an AI, you don't have that feeling of judgment.
Exactly.
So that really helps you open up more. You can talk a bit more, you can say a bit more things.
It's really, really important, because all of these, maybe mind barriers are interrupting the main concept, that it's communication.
Yes.
So guys, we have a last question for you for close this conversation, and it's about a recommendation about entrepreneurs. You are expert in your area. Please give a message to the next edutech generation of AI's lovers. Please give it something to our audience.
Would you like one from each of us? Or,
okay, maybe.
So why don't you start?
Great. Okay, I'll kick off. I think what I would say is just don't be afraid to try and put something out there and see what the people think. Because many a time we have thought, what if we add this? Or what if we make this better? Just throw it there. People give you the best feedback. And particularly when it's about some of the AI tools we have given to our users, sometimes said we should have just given them that a month ago. We probably gotten the same feedback, all this fine tuning and making it perfect in our eyes. Don't make it perfect. Throw it out there and see what people say.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite jokes with this is, a new entrepreneur always tries to make dark mode before releasing the product. First release the product, then you can think about dark mode and light mode and everything else. But for your audience, I think I'll go for a more practical viewpoint, at tech, AI, what can you do? I think today we are in the space where if you pay a little bit, not a lot, and get a couple of models going for yourself, you could single-handedly run an entire edtech show. What I mean by that is AI can create content for you. All you're doing is vetting and checking it. AI can create question and answers for you. AI can answer, check the answers of your users. Hell, AI can even digitally, market your product, through social media. So as a single solo entrepreneur, especially in edtech, if you have, I think the biggest thing you need to succeed here on your own without AI is build a following first. That's your catalyst. If you can have that following first, a lot of the other things, AI can just take care for you.
Okay. Guys, thank you very, very much for this conversation. We appreciate all of your knowledge, and we have some gift from both.
Thank you.
It's a tradition here in the podcast. It's
Thank you.
Something to drink water in your long travel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por haber sintonizado el podcast de Simplex. Por favor, suscríbanse al canal, háganos llegar sus preguntas y estamos muy expectantes para poder conocer a los próximos invitados que tenemos preparados para ustedes.